Hey everybody, this is Cameron from Obnoxious Anonymous. Welcome to the Twin Peaks Thought of the Day for Monday, May 15th, 2017. We are 6 official days away from season 3 of Twin Peaks finally starting. My guest today is somebody who has not been on this channel for a long time, but you guys have been wanting him back. So here he is. We're so happy to have him back. Welcome, Dirk. Thank you. Thank you. He doesn't believe me that you guys wanted him back, but I kept saying, no, you guys kept asking for him. So here he is. So make sure you let him know in the chat how appreciative you are to see his wonderful face back on this channel. So Dirk, thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're breaking up a lot, though. It's probably on my end. I got a crap internet connection in the apartment here.
Well, just do your best. We probably won't go too late tonight, so
we'll deal with it. So let me follow your instructions, and then hopefully not lose you in the process.
Clicking on the link so you can kind of see the chat line tonight.
Yeah. So I paused it.
Yeah. So Dirk, I have to ask you. I saw online that you are starting your own photography business. So what can you tell us a little bit about that? And also, where can people access your Facebook page for it?
Yeah, hold on one second. Before we get into that, it says I'm unable to connect to chat because I'm not logged in. So I should probably log in first, get that out of the way, that process. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, I guess that was just a single click. And we're getting hello. Yeah, I need to pause that video again for the feedback. Fantastic. JB says hello. Hello, JB. Anyway, back to your question. My photography thing. It's actually specifically real estate photography. And I have started an LLC, finishing up the paperwork on that. And basically everything's done with that. I was asked by realtors in the area, would I be able to do photography or quality photography since I have the video background? And I actually said, well, my video background comes from my photography background. So yeah, that's not a problem. Actually, I'd enjoy doing that a lot. So that's sort of how that, ball started rolling. And I'm really looking forward to doing that as my main job.
So what's it called, and where can people find it online?
It is called Voster Lux with a V, V-O-S-T-E-R space L-U-X Photography LLC, and under that name, just Voster Lux without anything else, but with the ad in front of it, I think is how I set it up on Facebook. Mm-hmm. So that's the Facebook page, and that's, there's also a website, vosterlux.com, but it's not up yet, meaning it will tell you coming soon, because technically we're not starting until July or August, depending.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've got my personal real estate issue to deal with before then. And yeah, so it's going to be fantastic because it will basically give me a chance to do what I love, which is, creating great pictures, while at the same time not be completely tied down to a 9-to-5 contract job where I wouldn't have the freedom to continue to make movies.
Mm-hmm. And I know you're wanting to make another short film soon, so you can go back to the Cannes Film Festival.
Oh, fuck yeah. Yeah, I've been like,
so
Facebook is evil, right? It sends you all these memory stuff.
But I remember a couple of years ago, though, you had a great time at Cannes, but at the same time you were kind of, I don't know if I liked it. It was fun, but I'm not sure. So now you kind of know what to expect. So now I think round 2 you'll be ready to go.
Well, absolutely, because I know I won't be going to a film festival as you would expect a film festival to be, because it isn't a film festival, meaning that's part of it, but it's mostly a market. But the really cool thing is, as I sort of look back over the past 2 years since I've been there, And I just realized I made a lot of great contacts, new friends, all people that are, into independent filmmaking. And we've stayed in contact for, the past 2 years. And that's just fantastic. So outside of Cannes, but in Cannes, we still had a great time. And it's a lot of fun.
Right.
It's basically a week-long party. It's fantastic.
Well, one thing that I think is super smart about David Lynch and this new Twin Peaks is coming out. They're playing the first 2 hours at this year's Cannes Film Festival. But
I had not even heard that.
But the great thing about it is they're actually going to play it on May 25th, 4 days after the Showtime premiere. So there will be no spoilers or leaks coming from overseas before it airs here. That was a concern a lot of people had, that it was going to open up the Cannes Film Festival and we would be inundated with everything that happens in the first 2 hours.
Yeah, well, they were probably scared that Tarantino was going to be there and he was going to trash it again.
Yes. It's funny you mentioned that, because there's been 3 kind of retrospective trailers that have come out of Showtime over the last couple of days called Twin Peaks: The Phenomenon. And it's basically talking about how Twin Peaks was really big and then it wasn't big and now the resurrection of it coming back. But there's no mention at all about, Fire Walk with Me, the 20 years in between, of nothing Twin Peaks being done except for, little fan
hardcore fan following.
Exactly. But, I find it interesting that they're not bringing up the fact that, Twin Peaks died a slow death and then the movie just completely nailed the coffin on it for a long time. They've kind of casually forgotten that aspect of it, even though Showtime has aired the movie as well. But I got you to do something that you swore you wouldn't do, which is watch anything.
Yeah, fucking asshole.
To watch anything promotional about this. And I got you to watch 2 teasers today. One was called Some Familiar Faces, and one was called It Is Happening Again. Now, I swore to you that these teasers would get you hyped, but not really tell you anything about what the new show is, or even tilt its hand as to which way it's going to go. So let me ask you, as a newbie to the Twin Peaks promotional material, because I know you stayed away from it almost entirely, what was your reaction to each of these teasers?
Well, before I give you the exact answer to that, let me correct you on a little bit, because I did go out and bought myself 9 issues of the first Entertainment. Was it Entertainment Weekly? I don't even know which magazine it was. It was like, oh my God, I got to get those.
Right.
So I got those. I got 9 copies of them, or 6, or however many. I got quite a few.
All matching
sets.
So
that I would have all matching sets. Exactly. So I did get 9 because there were 3, right? And I wanted to have 3 of each. So there you go. And I specifically bought these cellophane wraps for them, like you see in comic book stores too, like individually wrap them and store them. I have never done anything like that. And so I remember, the stuff that we got in publicity 25 years ago. And
what's funny about that is Entertainment Weekly was just starting out as a magazine when Twin Peaks started. So,
right.
Twin
But
Peaks was one of the...
nothing left of those days in terms of original printed material, and so I felt this was kind of I mean, the whole thing is unique, right? It's fantastic.
When I saw that picture, have you seen that picture? I posted it on my Facebook, and I'm sure all of you guys have seen it, of the Variety picture of Kyle MacLachlan, Laura Dern, David Lynch in the car.
No, I haven't. Like you said before, I've been really trying to stay away from the whole thing as much as possible.
This isn't anything from the series. This was a picture that Variety took of just Kyle and Laura Dern in the car and David Lynch in the backseat. Okay,
no, I haven't seen it.
Well, it's amazing because it's like Blue Velvet, Wild at Heart, Twin Peaks, all in one picture, and all of a sudden I was 14 years old again.
Right. That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Yeah. My reaction to the two teaser trailers, if they're even that, well, they are, because they actually do a little bit more than just tease. And indeed, they don't give anything away. They just show you familiar faces in a familiar setting, and yet it feels fresh and new. It's a little, I don't know. It's a little bit of a psychotic feeling, I guess.
But what's amazing too
and then the soundtrack is so in your face. We talked about this earlier today about the sound design, and how that makes it actually very far removed from the sweet part of Twin Peaks, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I didn't see any focus on pie or sugar or coffee or
right.
things like that. It's the really dark side of Twin Peaks.
Well, let me throw this out to you. One of those images, we see Big Ed, we see Albert, we see David Lynch, and we see Kyle MacLachlan. Okay, yeah, we see Harry Dean Stanton as well. I guess what I'm saying is a lot of the emphasis seems to be on new characters, new situations, new locales. But there's no Sherilyn Fenn, there's no Cheryl Lee, the people that we saw in those Entertainment Weekly covers. And I think it's so interesting that, the names like that or characters like that, Lynch is holding close to the vest and not showing anything about them. And every time we see Kyle MacLachlan, it's not Agent Cooper the way we know him. It's dark. It's serious. It almost looks like Fred Madison in Lost Highway,
Well, right. Well, presumably it's Bob, if you will, or, Evil Cooper or whatever. So we don't know. And that's the cool thing. And I like that. It's like all these people that want to just really see trailers that show everything and tell you the whole thing of what's going to happen. I don't know. I imagine they're the kind of people that skip to the end of a book to find out how it ends. And, to me, that's like, why the fuck bother reading it in the first place? Go in naked, go in without knowing anything.
Isn't that amazing that Lynch and Frost managed to do that? We're 6 days out and most people have no idea what this is even about.
Yeah, it is. It is absolutely amazing in this day and age.
I didn't think it was possible.
Where news travels so quickly. And it just goes to show that there's so much respect, right, for the whole thing. Now, without naming any names, I know also that people that were involved in the show, they are under a really solid NDA, a non-disclosure agreement, right? Mm-hmm. And so when I was visiting with certain people that were involved with them, that's what they started out with. It's like, hey, yeah, we can talk, but we can't talk about that. I really cannot tell you anything about that. And I'm like, well, I wasn't going to ask you because I don't want to know. But at this time, these people didn't know how much I try to, avoid all that stuff. But that's how they pretty much start out any conversation with anybody interested in Twin Peaks. They're saying we're under a really solid NDA and we really, there's much to lose for us if we talk. So, yeah. But you know as well as I do, there are a lot of people that, yeah, they sign an NDA and then they don't give a shit and they talk anyway because, ooh, look at me, I'm cool, I'm in.
I wasn't worried about cast members. I was thinking the third grip on this particular day was gonna leak something, that kind of thing.
No, and this is exactly, these aren't the people I'm talking about, and I'm not even going to mention their names because, out of respect for them. And actually, I could, but I didn't discuss it with them first, but because they didn't disclose anything to me, really. But they're not cast members. They're not celebrities or anything like that. They're just people that were somehow involved with the show a little bit. And even they were under a solid NDA. So I bet you that every single crew member um, had to, be under that same NDA.
And yet they didn't have a problem. The production didn't seem to have a problem at the beginning of, allowing people to watch them film. And then once one of those scenes leaked onto TMZ, it almost seemed like Lynch was like, that's it, we're done. And the production, closed itself off, and they went basically into Willy Wonka's chocolate factory, never to be heard from again until the show premieres, or the publicity. Once Lynch and Frost saw that basically the world was gonna, want to reveal all its secrets before they even got started, that was it.
Right. Yeah. So about the Entertainment Weekly, like I said, I bought all those copies and yada yada yada, but then I didn't read it. It was bad enough I saw the front covers.
I'll tell you, no, that there was nothing in those articles that again told you anything, which was amazing.
Yeah, but at the same time, it does. Even these clips that you made me watch at gunpoint today, where they're still revealing, because a picture is 1,000 words, and that's just true in this case. And even though you might have your own interpretation about these images, that doesn't matter. You see whether certain characters are still in, say, the job that they were back then. So that's a question answered. It may be small and it may be trivial, but it is something, right? And your brain goes haywire on that shit. And he gives you just enough kernels, if you will, to have your brain go on overload.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like really, really great poetry, right? If you look at the words individually, they don't mean all that much. But then the meaning comes from how you yourself are starting to connect them. And that's the same with these clips. I feel like, I've got a David Lynch electronic virus a la Videodrome ravaging inside my mind right now.
Well, let me throw this out to you, because I know you're a cinematographer. You've worked with several different cameras, film, digital, everything. What do you think of the look of what you've seen in these two teasers? What do you think of are you happy with the digital photography image?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it looks great. It looks, from what I can tell, it looks great. If I remember correctly, they decided to shoot on an Arri Alexa or some iteration of that.
Because I've gotten a lot of people writing to me saying that they were shocked that to them this looked more like Inland Empire than Twin Peaks or even Fire Walk with Me. And I think it's kind of a hybrid. Inland Empire is on a PD 150, and that's, I believe, like an analog camera. It's not even, that looks not very good on an HD TV, whereas this looks fantastic. This is like a David Fincher kind of look to me.
Yeah, exactly. It looks very clean. It looks very nice. And
does it look too clean, do you think?
No.
Okay.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so, because if you see the little dark scenes that you have in there, they're creepy. And I think ultimately it's gonna work really well for this season, from what I saw. It looks very nice, and it doesn't look at all like they just decided to walk in there with a camcorder, right?
Right.
It looks very well done, and it's very aesthetic. And yet at the same time, but if you look at movies like Fire Walk with Me, that's shot on 35 mil. Mm-hmm. That looks super clean, right?
Right.
Compared to a TV show, maybe. So what's the problem? Why should it not look clean? I mean, for years, the Kodak's been trying to get a finer grain with less grain in it because grain is considered noise. And now there's digital, and then suddenly, grain is only aesthetic and it's not considered noise anymore. Explain that to me. What's up with that?
Because if people feel like they went too far the other way, so they want to add it back in.
It's because we've been watching it for so long and we've ended up romanticizing it. That's why, and that's the only reason why. If you look at frame rate, for example, film is shot at 24 frames per second, and we're still shooting in that because that's what we aesthetically like because we're used to it. Yet at the same time, the image can look a whole lot cleaner or more real, if you will, if you go with a much higher frame rate.
Well, didn't Peter Jackson do that in The Hobbit, and he got killed for it?
Yeah, exactly, because it looked like a really well done BBC show. In terms of frame rate and look and feel and how that motion works and all that. And so even though there's that possibility of go with a higher frame rate, even if it's up to 30 frames per second in instead of the 48 that he was going with, I prefer the 24 frames per second look also. But at the same time, I realize it's a completely psychological, nostalgic, conditioned thing, right?
Right.
So people aren't wrong. There is just what they prefer, whatever.
All right, let me throw this out to you because this was another discussion point earlier today. Why don't you talk to the viewers a little bit about your concerns about the Showtime app this coming Sunday and what that could mean for watching the first 4 hours of this new Twin Peaks?
Yeah, so because I didn't read up on anything, look into anything, I just kind of sort of assumed that Showtime would be smart enough to sort of do the thing that HBO is now doing with their main shows anyway, where if a show is on a Sunday night at 8, then it streams on their app at the same time. Right? You can start streaming it anyway from that moment on. And I think that's fair because a lot of people have the app because they don't have a cable TV subscription anymore. They went all streaming. They went all with the internet. And so why, if they want to push that technology, these networks such as Showtime and HBO, why would they punish people then by giving them a show later than when it's on broadcast? So, but it turns out that there's apparently only 2 hours that stream simultaneously with the broadcast, but then the other 2 aren't going to be available for streamers until after midnight or whatever.
So the way I understand it is Sunday night, 2 episodes air on Showtime,
Yep.
2 episodes stream. Then episodes 3 and 4 are going to play the next weekend on Showtime.
Mm-hmm.
But for people who have the app, they'll also drop that same night after episodes 1 and 2 air. So they'll be all 4 of those will be available on the streaming app. But viewers who don't have the app will watch episodes 3 and 4 1 week later. So in essence, if we watch 4 hours in one night, we're going to have to wait 2 weeks to see a new episode.
But wait a second. So you're saying basically the streamers are favored here?
Yes.
Okay. See, that's not what I had understood. Okay. Wow.
Because hours 1 and 2 premiere Sunday, hours 3 and 4 premiere the next Sunday. But if you have the app, hours 1 through 4 drop the first night.
Okay. It's going to be a long night.
But the thing that gets me is it's going to be, I mean, like I've been saying, it's the equivalent of, 2 Fire Walk With Me's in one night, which is a lot of Twin Peaks to digest. And we're probably going to get one hell of a cliffhanger at the end of hour 4 to make us wait 2 weeks.
The equivalent? Okay, yeah.
I know Fire Walk with Me is 2 hours and 15 minutes. I'm just saying that it's 4 hours of Twin Peaks. I mean, it's a lot in one night. We've never had this much Twin Peaks dropped on us in one
No, but it's a
night.
great promotional stunt, and you know what? It just makes it worth. It's a big reward for the whole secrecy with the whole buildup, right? And yeah, we're going to maybe then have to wait a couple weeks before we get new episodes if you watch them all at once. And of course we have to, because otherwise you can't have a life on the internet anymore.
No, definitely not.
So we get 4 episodes at once.
Yes.
You're going to be rewatching those over and over until there are new episodes. You know it's going to happen.
And the fact that it's 18 hours long, we're getting 4 hours that first night. That leaves us 14 hours to stretch over the entire summer, because this goes into September. So this is and what's interesting is that Game of Thrones comes out the next month. So they're going to be those two series competing for all the media attention this summer.
Yeah, it's
so let me throw this out to you as somebody who has not watched a lot of the promotional material. Let me just ask you this as a, generation.
Hold that question. Don't forget though.
Okay.
But there's a couple of comments that maybe we should address. People, asking stuff, and so yeah, Eric, it's happening again. It sure as fuck is. Welcome back, Dirk. Thank you. I apparently, according to JB, miss David Lynch eating a donut promo. Okay.
So a long time ago, there was just a like a 50-second thing of just David Lynch just sitting there eating a donut, and that was the teaser.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
No words spoken, Dirk. It was just him eating a donut, and then it said Twin Peaks.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Yep. No, I love it. I love it. Also, the actors have total respect for David. That makes it easier to keep everything secret, says Tony. Yeah, exactly. But it's not just the actors who have. Am I breaking up, Nina? Is that what you're saying?
I don't know. You're coming across clear to me, but sometimes they see something different than what we're seeing.
Okay. Well, sorry. Yeah, but it's not just the actors who have respect. It's like everybody, right? And he earns that respect, I think. Tony, if you paid for Showtime, for the Showtime channel, and got Showtime on demand, episodes 3 and 4 will be in demand. That's what I did. Okay. It's good to know, I guess. Well, Nina, I'm sorry that we're breaking up on you, but Matt LeBlanc claims that it's clear on his end, and JB says the same thing, so sorry. Let me go back here. Somebody says Ludnurk? Idnurk? I'm not sure. Probably raping your name. My apologies. Kind of would rather not have to wait 2 weeks. Also sucks for non-app users avoiding spoilers. Yep, exactly. So,
well, somebody always gets messed up in the land of the internet. I mean, it's just.
But at this point, also, if you're a non-app user, maybe you're not that much on the internet anyway. I don't know.
Well, no, because they're referring to everybody in Europe who doesn't get Showtime, because
right.
they're not offering it on Showtime over there. They're offering it on other services, and those other services are not doing what Showtime's doing, so they actually have to wait until the next week to see the next 2 episodes.
Yeah. Okay. Let me put that in perspective. If you lived in Europe 25 years ago, you had to wait maybe a whole year before you get to fucking see any Twin Peaks, until after it aired here, or longer than that, because at that time things didn't move so quickly, and so
There was no such. There was
certain countries who would have TV stations, but they would be not commercial TV stations. They would be social TV stations, basically paid with taxes. And they would decide, well, what shows are we going to buy? It's a lot of money for them to buy a show because, they're not making money. It's just a social thing. And then they have to translate it. And then they have to, once they have the translation, they have to put the translation into subtitles for all those countries. And then that puts in an even longer delay. So, yeah, you may have to wait, but you know what? Compared to the original Twin Peaks, if you're outside the US, you don't have to wait as long as you did back then. So, so there.
So there. Yeah, I don't know. It's just, I don't know. I'm losing my train of thought here, actually.
That's okay. Matt, I agree with you. Staying off Facebook until caught up. Too many spoilery headlines. Yep, I agree, man. That's what I've been doing up until today, until this here fucker showed up at my door and just put a gun to my face. You're going to watch these fucking teaser trailers now because we need to talk about them.
Well, I didn't.
Okay, who the fuck are you, Bobby Peru?
I didn't think that these teasers would have destroyed your day. I think that especially since we are 6 days from it coming out, I think
it got me psyched up. And in fact, I'd been like tunnel visioning, avoiding this stuff so strongly that it really was, holy shit, it's 6 days? It's like, how did this happen?
Right. I mean, I remember when they announced this thing 2.5 years ago, as James likes to crack wise, he says, there's been 3 seasons of Fargo in between their announcement and this new season. So,
that's probably true.
It is true.
Yeah.
So
anyway, you had a question for me that I put you on hold on.
Well, it was about watching Twin Peaks back when it originally aired. And I totally forgot what I was going to ask you. I'm sure it will come back up though as we continue. But so let's talk about these teasers. What stuck out to you about them? I mean, to me, it was Big Ed sitting at that table. It was that weird shot of Harry Dean Stanton kind of looking up into the heavens, and it's like, wow, these are like new perspectives on characters that I mean, I certainly never thought that Carl Rod was going to show back up and have new dimensions given to a character that was, brought in presumably in Fire Walk with Me just to give Harry Dean Stanton a role and, for David Lynch to work with him,
Yeah, but anything that I have to say about it is going to be speculation, right? And
well, yeah, of course.
And that kind of makes it worthless because as Jeff Lebowski says, it's like, yeah, man, that's just like your opinion or whatever. Okay, but anyway, but I'll tell you this: it's gonna be a fucking emotional roller coaster if you are even half as invested in the show as I am, right? So, meaning, okay, so as I posted on Facebook earlier today. Even watching the first episode now, and having that whole sequence of the announcement of Laura Palmer's death, it's just gut-wrenching. It's just, that's a very emotional scene, and it brings me to tears, even after so many years. Now. We're going to be confronted with characters played by actors that we've come to, know and love over the past 25 years, and they've recently passed away. it's going to be tough watching those scenes, and
I think the other thing is that, for 25 years, every single one of us has kind of come up with our ideas as to what would happen next. And now we are going to get a definitive answer as to what happened next. And I think for some people, they're not going to like it. And I think for others, they're going to love it. And one thing I was saying on Facebook today is the internet and the media, they love to praise or condemn by the time the first commercial break airs. And this is something I've been saying kind of throughout the week. And I'm also saying it to myself as well, which is there's a very good possibility that 4 episodes in, we may really love this thing, or we may be really kind of turned off and not knowing what the hell's going on, and we don't even know if we like it. But by episode 12, by hour 13, it could all come together, and we're like, oh, now it all is coming together. So I think you kind of have to wait until the whole thing is over.
That's exactly the point that I was going to make, actually.
Okay.
And so you kind of blew my wad there, but anyway.
I have another wad to blow later.
What I was going to say is, whatever you do with your opinions, this is David Lynch. Hold your opinion until the fat lady sinks,
or at least until the fat lady walks the Chihuahua.
Right. Wait until the show's over, and yes, we're going to have questions answered, and we will have 3 questions more for everyone that got answered. And so,
but I do believe we will have a resolution, and I think that this, and then Mark Frost's book that's coming out, I think in October, is called The Final Dossier. I think between season 3 and The Final Dossier, I'm going to speculate and say that not only does it end, but I think we're going to get a happy ending. I don't think we're going to end Mulholland Drive, Inland Empire, bleak and nasty. I think we're going to get a satisfying ending. And you're disagreeing with me.
Yeah.
You think they're going to end it with another How's Annie?
No, I think there are going to be mysteries that are not going to be solved, that are going to remain unsolved. And if there aren't, then in fact, I would not like that. That would not be a happy ending for me.
No, I mean, obviously there's going to be unanswered things. I'm talking about the overall story. The Cooper, Laura, whatever else tales they want to tell us, I think those will come to an end, or at least a satisfying resolution, not necessarily an end.
Yeah, we'll see. I guess I don't know. I think there's still going to be mystery, as well there should be.
Sure, but I don't see the ending of the show being Cooper being chased by 2 little elderly people while he blows his head off on a pillow. Spoiler alert from Mulholland Drive. But
yeah, but see, I agree. Let me put it this way: I would agree more with you if this were for a more regular style broadcast station, right? The kind that depends on TV commercials, as somebody just mentioned. Yay, there's not going to be commercials in season 3, which is awesome. But going on a network like Showtime or HBO also gives you more liberty to do certain weird Lynchian things, right? Be prepared for that. Because you don't have well, you are going to have a network ass telling you, oh, Lynch, you can't do this, you have to do that, and blah, blah, blah. I'm sure. But it's not going to be as strong as you would, in the old days. and so there's
But
going to
look,
be
but look what,
some stuff. There's going to be some stuff that's going to be weirder than in the original two seasons, but hopefully not as weird as Evelyn Marsh. But but
you bite your tongue. That James and Evelyn subplot is not that bad.
It isn't.
Yeah.
I don't. I think it's not. But
Right,
anyway,
right.
but I know people do, and so that's why I had to put that gag in.
Well, those people who
but at the same time
should listen to our James Marshall podcast we did, where
exactly
we talked about it, and you'll have a different perspective on that. But go ahead.
Exactly. But at the same time, he's able to do a little bit more of the weird stuff now that you'll see in Mulholland Drive or even Inland Empire. But I still think it's not going to be to that extreme where to have any kind of grasp, you need to really over intellectualize it, if that's a word. Right? Really sit down and analyze it and think about it, or just not and just meditate on it and accept it for what it is. And if you get something out of it, you do, great. And if you don't, then not. But he's not going to be able to do that, I don't think, with a show like Twin Peaks, to go to those extremes. If they are extremes. I love Inland Empire, as you know. And I love it that the answers aren't regurgitated and explained, because it gives me a chance to sort of take on that part. And, I can decide what it means for me and how things all work. And maybe I'm wrong, but I'm not, because that's my view on it, right? That's my perception.
But that is a film that is entirely written by David Lynch. Having Mark Frost co-writing this with Lynch means that he will bring the logic in with the surrealist aspects of it. So
yeah, exactly. And so I think it's not going to be anywhere near as strong as Mulholland Drive or Inland Empire, right? Is the point that I want to drive. But I think there's going to be some of that.
Well, it definitely looks like it's heading in that direction. It certainly doesn't look like Lynch is trying to be 1990s David Lynch again, making this new series. It looks like the natural extension after Inland Empire.
Maybe.
Well, at least the teasers look that way. Although I've said before that I could take the original series and use that same soundtrack they use in the new teasers and cut similar looking teasers with the original series. Because all they were doing was using one line or showing an image. But I remembered my question I was going to ask you, and again, this is speculation, but this is what we're here to do. 6 days before, but I want to know, and I'm just curious because we've gone through the rocky road of Twin Peaks, of season 1 and season 2, and watching people get interested and lose interest, and then the movie coming out and the movie not doing well, and then radio silence for a decade pretty much. One of the things that the Twin Peaks phenomenon trailers brought up is after the series aired, it was very hard to find the series. There was the VHS tapes, there was the Laserdisc box sets as well, which they don't mention, but it wasn't until the gold box and Netflix and that kind of got people really into it, at least the new generation into it. So let me ask you this. I'm just curious, and it's just been a question I've kind of pondering myself and asking of others. We all know that this first night will more than likely be just a tremendous success for the ratings of the show. Just, the public interest, I think, will be there. However, 18 episodes. See, when they first said it was going to be 9 and then 18 episodes, I assumed that season 3 was going to be 9 episodes, and then season 4 would be the back 9, right? And we would get 2 seasons. But no, we're going to get 18. This is the longest cable series, I think, because most of them go 10 to 12 episodes, not 18. So to go May to September is a hell of a long time. And so in a way, I think that there's a very good possibility that we are going to get a replay of what we had back in 1990, 91, where it's going to start off really strong. People are going to maybe get into it. And then around episode 9 or 10, people are going to start dropping off. And by the time we get to the last 3 episodes, the hardcore Twin Peaks fans will be there, and we'll be the ones carrying the flag across the, but I'm curious to see if the audience sticks with it the whole time, or whether it becomes another replay where the hardcore fans watch all the way to the end and everybody else drops off and starts talking about what a piece of shit it was to be brought back.
And your question is what I think will happen?
If you were to be speculative and kind of think about, you've seen trends over the last 25 years, and you've seen David Lynch films and the series kind of go up and down. You've seen Hotel Room and On the Air come out and get canceled and that type of thing. So do you think we're at such a nostalgic thing where old fans and new fans are just going to just ride this thing for 18 episodes, and it's going to be, the ratings are going to get bigger and bigger and bigger as this new series goes on? Or do you think we're going to get a replay? I guess I'm just curious what you think.
Honestly, I have no idea how this one is going to play out. I really don't. Because it really can go either way. But I think you'll have your answer pretty much right after the first 4 episodes. You'll see how people react to it, and I think then that's when you'll be able to predict if you're going to have that scenario where people just tune out rather, and then hear a new refreshed hype from the fans toward the end, like, oh, that was fantastic. And then they'll come back again, right? Mm-hmm. Fire Walk With Me is the best example, perhaps, in movie history of the past 2 or 3 decades, to demonstrate to keep your darn mouth shut with your opinions until you've taken some time to reflect on what it is you're, voicing your opinion on. Because so many people have changed their opinion on that movie.
It's kind of embarrassing. It's kind of embarrassing, in my opinion, of how many people hated that movie and now people love it.
Yeah, exactly. To the point where a certain person said that David Lynch was dead to him because of that movie.
Well, I believe the line that Tarantino said was David Lynch has crawled so far up his own ass that he can't make a decent film anymore.
Oh, there. I'm sorry, but that movie is fucking fantastic. And I didn't see that right away either. Right? Because I went in, okay, so it's funny, an uncle of mine at the time saw that movie, went in to see a David Lynch movie, had not seen the series, was not at all into the series, because he and his girlfriend refused at the time to own a TV, right? And so they're total movie buffs, and movies are seen in the theater, and that was sort of their, philosophy. And so they went to see Twin Peaks, Fire Walk With Me, without having seen the series at all. So they came out and they said, this is before I had seen it, they're like, what the fuck was that? And I can totally get that, sentiment, where if you're not at all familiar with the show. But at the same time, I was familiar with it. I went to see it, and we discussed this ad nauseum. And I had a different expectation, and it was mostly that expectation that sort of tainted my opinion on that film initially. But I gave it some time, then watched it again, and realized there's something really quite brilliant about this. I may need to see it 100 more times before I'm done with this film, right? And it has in fact since then started to grow on me and it continues to grow on me with every screening. And
Well,
how many movies can you say that of? I mean, there aren't all that many that I have that I continue to revisit, and they continue to grow.
So I'm someone that has the opinion that some of those missing pieces scenes definitely should have been in the movie. I think it would have made the film more palpable for a lot of people. I think a lot of people would have appreciated the film more if some of those missing pieces scenes had been in the film. However, what people don't seem to realize is that David Lynch, on distributing that film, had a 135-minute time frame. He could not go past 2 hours and 15 minutes. He was not allowed to. So Fire Walk with Me clocks in at 2 hours, 14 minutes, and 35 seconds. He took it right to the edge, right? If the distributors had said, you can't go past 2 hours and 30 minutes, Fire Walk with Me would have been 2 hours and 30 minutes. I don't believe that the Fire Walk with Me that got released in theaters would have been Lynch's preferred version if they had allowed him more time. I think that he would have found a way to get some of those other scenes in there. So when people say to me, oh, there's this massive fan cut out there that's 3 hours and 35 minutes with all the missing pieces put in, and it's fantastic, it's amazing. And I go, well, that's not really the full movie, because a lot of the missing pieces scenes were not included in the missing pieces. There's a lot of stuff that they still didn't show. So you're still not getting the full thing. But the other thing is that you have to realize that Lynch only had a 2 hour and 15-minute window. So my argument to people is, okay, some of those missing pieces scenes should have been in the movie. So take the length of those scenes that you want to put in the film. Let's say 9 minutes of them you want to put back into Fire Walk with Me. What 9 minutes do you cut out to put those in?
I see your point, but at the same time, apparently it seems that Lynch is, not that he said this or anything, or maybe he did, I don't know, you tell me, you're the expert, but it seems he doesn't embrace the option to do so anyway. I mean, let me give you one name to illustrate my point. James Cameron, right? Sort of the godfather of the director's cut in the era of DVDs anyway, and now Blu-ray.
Laserdisc, he was the first one to come out with Aliens, Abyss, that type of thing. Yeah.
Abyss, exactly. And so specifically those two movies, just to sidetrack to James Cameron for a second, The Abyss turned into a completely different film, in my opinion, that I much prefer over the theatrical cut.
Amen.
And it's a shame that fucker still isn't on Blu-ray,
right?
In proper aspect ratio and whatnot. And then Aliens, even though it is much longer, it feels much faster. Even though it's not paced faster necessarily, right? But the additional background story helps actually to move the story faster, because maybe you're emotionally more invested in those characters. I don't know. But anyway, before I go into an hour chat on Aliens and the Abyss, which I'd love to do, but I'm not gonna. I don't see David Lynch going back to say, "Hey, I'm going to do a director's cut off."
No, because they offered it to him to do it on the Blu-ray, and he said no.
He doesn't do that.
Right.
So you know what? With all that speculation, then yeah, but he only has 120 minutes, 135 minutes to do his movie. For a theatrical release. I'm sorry, that's not true anymore, right? He can go back and present the version that he wants us to see, and he, for whatever reason, decides not to. So you know what? Fire Walk with Me, that is the movie. And it's not an episode of the series. It is a movie. So, Jesus, I lost my train of thought here.
Well, you and I had a discussion. We went to see Wild at Heart. Where did we see that again in Hollywood? What was the
Egyptian.
At the Egyptian, which, by the way, had a great time, but
beautiful theater.
But still, shame on you for playing the last reel out of focus.
Yeah, Egyptian. What the fuck is up with that?
That was a terrible experience. That part. But
yet the crowd. My God.
Well, they were respectful.
Yeah, but not as much as I think as they should have been. There were still too many people that were, although it wasn't as bad, anywhere near as bad as when I saw Blue Velvet, and it wasn't in that theater. I was in a different theater. Mm-hmm. Man, that was just horrible. But it was so bad I left.
But we were walking out, and we were talking about Wild at Heart, and one thing that I listen, I really do love Fire Walk with Me, but I do acknowledge its flaws, only because it's the fastest film that David Lynch ever made, from the series getting canceled in June to the film being written, filmed, edited, and premiering 11 months from the cancellation date of the series. I mean, it's a hell of a turnaround, right?
Mm-hmm.
So here's the thing. Dwayne Dunham edited Blue Velvet from a 4-hour cut to a 2-hour cut.
Mm-hmm.
Blue Velvet is one of those films that when you watch it, you can't really tell that a lot was cut out. I mean, it's very well shaped. And then you see some of the deleted scenes, and you totally go, okay, I totally understand why those are cut out, and they wouldn't work in the film anyway. Wild at Heart, Dwayne Dunham edits that film. It's magnificent. You see some of the deleted scenes, and you go, yeah, I can totally see why those cut out, and I wouldn't put them in because the film really works by itself. Now, I think Fire Walk with Me, because it was Mary Sweeney's first film editing, and again, the quick turnaround, I think one of the issues is that is a very complex film for a new editor to take over and balance past, present, future, and all this footage that they shot and shape it into something that is going to make sense for people that haven't watched the series as well.
Yeah, well, no, that was never going to happen anyway. That was never going to happen anyway. So yeah, I don't know, but
I'm just saying that some of those missing pieces, scenes, that some of those scenes would have been in the film at the time if Lynch was allowed 2 hours and 25 minutes. Whereas now, he's made peace with that film. That's the film he made. That's the film that stands. Everything else is just an extra.
Sure.
Right. I'm just saying at the time in 1992, if he could have put in more, he would have. That's all.
Mm-hmm. There's been a ton more comments, so I kind of feel like I don't want to ignore people that, pay us respect to watch us blab.
Well, I usually go through the comments, but go ahead, Dirk. Pick out some of your favorites so far.
I'm just going to scroll back a little bit to where did we left off. There'll be some snarky remarks or comments from shitty opinion havers like everything else, but the type of content I crave tends to make my skin crawl. I don't want season 3 to be their kind of show. Yeah, I stay away from those people, man. That's all I can tell you. It's just avoid. You don't need that kind of negativity in your life.
Dirk's telling you to flick those hipsters away from you.
And ended with Broken Cooper in denim and long hair at Pearl Lakes meeting young Leland. All right, Matt, you're a little off the chain with that, I think, but whatever.
Thomas Kornacki writes, Twin Peaks Season 3 will play out like other Lynch Mark Frost work. It'll have a small following at first, but a long shelf life.
Yeah, no, actually, that's a very good point. I do agree with that sentiment. Thomas, I don't know if you're still watching, but I think you're on the money with that, for sure. And I think Showtime must realize that, right? So
Well, Badger says,
and that's the cool thing. Um, in the at the time when Twin Peaks was made originally, shows, TV series were a disposable commodity, right? They weren't something that was going to be repackaged and resold again. It was never made with that intention, because we didn't have that industry then. We had VHS, but that started that. But then now we have streaming, and just look at Netflix and its competitors. That shows you how many old shows are coming back and suddenly have a huge following, right? Sure. They're made available again, and they were never made at the time to like have this long a shelf life to begin with. So this is awesome, and well,
I just hope this turns out better than the X-Files thing that came out last year. So
yeah, but they're gonna do more X-Files now. Anyway, so I hope those turn out better than anyway. Look at Mary Hardman. Mary Hardman. You know, who would have thunk that that show would be restored and released on Blu-ray? And it's fantastic that they did, but they did. And
Badger 70 says at least half of the missing pieces, great as they are, had to go in service of what had to be in the end the focus on telling Laura's story. Now I understand that. I'm saying that there's some of the Laura scenes that probably should have been in the film. That's all I'm saying. I'm referring to especially the one underneath the fan with her smiling. That is crucial. Now here's a question, and I know this is a good question for you, Dirk. Over under 65% that we maybe not see, but at least we get a reference to Chet Desmond in this new series.
Okay, sorry, I was trying to listen to your question and read what.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
Well, no, I'm sorry.
So my question to you
I'm
is,
going to focus on you, Cameron.
Over or under 65%, do you think do we see or get a reference to Chet Desmond in this new series? Because Lynch has said over and over and over again, this is why it's so interesting that they left Fire Walk With Me out of this whole Twin Peaks The Phenomenon teasers that the Showtime did out, that they left Fire Walk With Me out. Lynch has said the key to understanding season 3 is remembering Fire Walk With Me. So that says to me that Chet Desmond.
Oh, see, now this, because I haven't been following, because I didn't know this. I didn't know that he had said that. And that to me is awesome news, because that would definitely then be a strong indicator that yes, we're going to hear more about Desmond.
But don't you think there's a possibility, and I'm just throwing this out there to have a discussion, but for Lynch to say, to understand season 3, you gotta, reacquaint yourself with Fire Walk With Me and get into that. That says to me like an artist that is so still hurt that he got burned with that film, with critics and audiences, that he's like, you know what? I'm gonna make you like this damn thing. I'm gonna rub your nose in it until you freaking love it, and then to understand, you know what I mean? It's like a guy that's just like hell bent on making you have to go back to something that you despised 25 years ago, and now you have to get into it in order to understand the new series. Seems kind of sadomasochistic to me.
Yeah, but then why isn't he doing that with Dune, which is,
well, don't you remember that?
Which is fuck all you haters. It's one of my favorite science fiction movies of all time, and I got into that movie before I got into the whole David Lynch phenomenon or Twin Peaks or whatever. A lot of people said, well, if you haven't read the book, it doesn't make sense and all that. Well, at that time, I had not read the book when I first saw it, but I was just blown away by it. It's like there was something so fresh and unique about it, with the set dressings and the costumes and the sound, the sound design and the wow, that movie is just so fucking awesome.
At the Missing Pieces premiere, somebody asked David Lynch, "Well, now that you've done this, are you going to go back to Dune?" And he starts laughing. He's like, "No." But I love that somebody asked him that.
Yeah, absolutely. That could have been me, you know.
Well, I was thinking the only films of his that we have not gotten deleted scenes from are The Elephant Man, Lost Highway, and The Straight Story. That's it.
Yeah.
And I know that The Elephant Man had an hour cut out of the film. The Straight Story, apparently a lot of stuff they got cut out were comedic bits that they kind of pulled back on because he didn't expect the film to be as emotional as it became. So he had to kind of scale those back. Lost Highway, we have only seen one deleted scene from that, and that's in the documentary Pretty as a Picture, The Art of David Lynch. So there's a whole lot of Lost Highway we haven't seen as well. So maybe one day we'll get a good Blu-ray of that.
Well, at least Lost Highway is now available in HD in the US. At least it is on iTunes or Apple TV, which is really the same thing, but you know what I mean.
Right.
So I was very happy with that. I haven't watched that particular version yet, but I was excited that, oh my God, finally, and I don't have to deal with the German Blu-ray.
we have a lot of people saying that they think that The Ring is going to be heavily focused on in this new series.
Yeah, I think I saw some comments fly by from people watching us right now.
And a lot of people want Invitation of Love to come back.
Well, of course.
But it was left out entirely of season 2. And now soap operas don't even air on TV anymore here in the States, pretty much. So, back then...
Don't they?
Not if they do, there's like one or two. There's not like the 12 that would air all day long before Oprah. So, I mean, back then, Lucy watching a soap opera during the day made sense. Today, people don't really sit around and watch soap operas anymore.
I don't know if that's true. I mean, I don't watch.
You watch soap operas. You're going to watch Twin Peaks this Sunday.
Well, that's the only one, yeah, but that's like a soap noir. Not that it's film noir like, but noir as in that's like a dark soap opera.
All right, so let me ask you a couple of questions. Okay.
So what? Yeah, there's no more As the World Turns or General Hospital or what? There's no more Bold and the Beautiful or what else? You had a fucking revival of both what? Dallas and Dynasty. Both of those, I think, were brought back.
No, just Dallas and 90210.
Just Dallas. Okay.
Yeah.
I haven't watched that, but yeah.
All right. So let me ask you a couple of questions before we go here. Let's play the over or under 65%. Okay. Over or under 65%.
Well, why 65? First of all,
okay.
what's so special?
Then you pick the number.
No, that's fine. That's just random then, right? That's just it's not a specific thing. Like
no, I'm just curious. Do you think? Okay, let's start with this one. Do you think the opening titles will be one of three things? The same opening titles that we got for season 1 and 2. Number 2 would be the same titles, but just the same locations, just 25 years later. Or do you think 3, it's going to be a whole new opening title sequence, a la Fire Walk with Me, that sets its own mood, its own style?
No, I think it's going to be sort of the center one.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I say that is that's already what they've shown in these teaser trailers with the Twin Peaks logo.
Right.
That's a new version. That's not old school. And sure, it might be that they just did that for those teasers. Right. But at the same time, that's, sort of what would make sense.
So you think the images will be pretty much the same, but just updated 25 years?
Yeah, that would make sense.
Okay.
But I think it would be strange if they did not have the Twin Peaks theme for the opening credits.
Yeah.
It would be strange if they had something else.
Oh, well, I remember going to see Fire Walk with Me, and at first you're really taken aback, like, well, wait a minute, this isn't the Twin Peaks music.
Right.
Yeah. And then of course you fall in love with that theme. Do you think this show, or would you be disappointed if the show began with another body wrapped in plastic rolling up onto the shore? Do you think we're going to go that way, like that nostalgic? And that's going to set off a new mystery of that?
No, I don't think so.
Because, I mean, Fire Walk with Me began with Teresa Banks and obviously Laura Palmer at the beginning of the series. So you don't think they'll repeat that motif?
But what did season 2 begin with?
Cooper laying on the ground.
Oh, there you go.
Right, but that's like...
So you had a body wrapped in plastic, then you had Cooper laying in the ground, and then you have another body wrapped in plastic, and now you got Cooper driving a car. So there you go. There's your answer.
It's now going to begin with Cooper laying on the ground while a prostitute rides him, and he's Bob, eager for fun.
Hey, I think you're mistaking me for James, but
no,
he would ride with that. But anyway, or he would run with that. But yeah.
Is there anything in this show that... This is a trick question because we already know the answers, but I'll throw it out to you anyway. Is there anything in this show that could happen, or is there a possibility that you could watch 8 or 9 episodes and be like, man, I am just not feeling this thing. I'm out. I'm done. Or no matter what, you will ride this to the end.
Are you fucking kidding me? Of course. Like, first of all, the teasers have shown me enough that I don't have to worry that something like that will happen.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It will not get to a point where I hate it so much that I would tune out. Unlike, for example, season 7 of The Walking Dead, which I was, pretty hardcore fan of the whole series, and then this most recent season hits us, and almost every episode, and it took me a long time to even get to them. See, for every single episode up until that point, it was like I would buy them on iTunes so that I would have them the next day without commercials.
Mm-hmm.
And I would watch them right away. Not with this one. In fact, I only just finished it yesterday. And oh my God, I'm so disappointed with this season. I don't know if you follow the show or not.
I haven't for a while.
But anyway, my point is I cannot live in a world where I would have that with Twin Peaks. Are you fucking kidding me? No.
Well, I do agree with a lot of people thinking that the show is going to build up to Agent Cooper. It might not begin with Agent Cooper. It might begin with a whole bunch of new characters that lead us to where Cooper is, and at least at the end of the episode, maybe that's the reveal for the episode 1.
Mm-hmm.
I've kind of calculated. It's funny you mentioned the iTunes. I've been talking about this lately. I've kind of calculated it's going to cost me about $110, $115 for this season 3, because I got the Showtime subscription. Then, of course, I'm going to buy it streaming so I can have that. And then, of course, when the Blu-ray comes out, I'm going to own that too. So it's
but then you're going to have the re-release of the Blu-ray with the missing pieces.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't know.
One, I can't believe we're getting a new David Lynch film, and 2, it's an 18-hour David Lynch movie. I mean, that's just insane.
Yeah. It's Twin Peaks, so it's okay.
Yeah. So, again, I just want to reiterate, 6 days 6 days. We've been waiting 25 plus years. We're 6 days away. I can't believe it. When you talk about online that, you know, you're going to be super emotional about this new thing, I have no idea how I'm going to be. I know I'm going to be running through the house. Any bit of noise is going to have to shut up, because I'm going to just need to just isolate myself in a chamber and watch this. You know, God bless all the people out there who throw Twin Peaks parties. I could never sit there with 30 people or so watching this new series for the first time and think I'm going to miss something or not hear something. I kind of would need to watch it by myself and then maybe watch it with other people.
It depends on the crowd.
Oh, of course, but
you know, I already told my other half, who likes to blab during shows, that you better just be somewhere else or put duct tape over your face, because you are not going to blab through this one. Yeah. No, I think I put it that I said I'm going to have emotional problems Sunday, which is of course another reference to the show itself. But
well, we talked about this a while ago, right? You went to the Twin Peaks Festival a few years ago, and one of the things that I said to you was that how spiritual the whole area was for me, and that it would really benefit you if you went up there a few days before the festival, so you could kind of take it in personally, and then when the festival kicked in, you'd be ready to go. And
Yeah.
You said thought that that was kind of a correct way of doing it, at least for your first time there. And that's how I feel about this new show. To me, it's like it's so personal to me that I almost feel like I have to just be alone, like I was when I was 14 years old, downstairs while my mom was asleep upstairs watching the show. I need to almost recreate that scenario and then share it with other people. But that's just where I am. I just can't. I've never been one of those people that drank coffee and ate cherry pie while I watched the show. You know, it's the
What?
Well, you've been having Twin Peaks. You, for a long time, you and a friend would do like Twin Peaks marathons like every year, right? You guys would get together and rewatch the whole show.
One other person.
Right, one other person.
Yeah, one other person.
Well, this was a few years ago. You guys would get together and do this.
Up until a few years ago, we do that all the time. Yeah,
Right,
definitely once a year. Or at least every other year if it didn't, if we skip a year or whatever. But yes, and
I've watched the show many times with people too. I'm just saying my initial.
And what that show just did to me, it wasn't so much like, oh, I have to imitate what they're doing in the show, and now I have to drink coffee and eat pie while watching the show because it's a gimmick. That's not really what happened. What happened was, well, first of all, I've been a big coffee drinker since I was probably about 6 or 7 or so. Yes, I was allowed to drink coffee at that age, and that explains a lot, doesn't it? But it was heavily milked down, of course. But I normally don't have a sweet tooth. That is, if I don't have any kind of candy or sweets in the house, I don't necessarily, have a craving for it. But when I watch Twin Peaks and I constantly see that, I just end up getting hungry for those things. And it's the same thing I had when I quit smoking. I just could not watch movies because in old movies they would constantly smoke, and it was just really difficult for me to not want a cigarette seeing all that. But now I just have to stick with coffee because I get too fat otherwise, because I'll just eat tons of sweet stuff. And also I have some reactions when I eat a lot of gluten.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't eat that anyway. And gluten-free donuts are just disgusting.
Okay.
Cameron, you look half asleep. What the fuck?
I'm reading the comments and I'm listening about
Oh, okay. Well, fine. Let's
non-gluten
read
donuts.
comments because they have been active lately. We got
Well,
36
Alan
people.
Duran, thank you. He agrees with me. I'm still maintaining that Catherine Nicholson will be doing log lady introductions for the entire season because they shot stuff with her. We know that she probably didn't shoot a lot of stuff with other actors. So what could they shoot? I don't know. Log lady introductions, especially since those log lady introductions that were created for the Bravo TV airing were actually remastered HD for the Blu-ray set. So obviously Lynch feels very proud of those. So why not carry him over into the new series? So I think that's where we're going to see a lot of her. William TPQ is convinced that Michael Allen Keane is not coming back. Charles.
Well, that's what that's what he said. That Ankin has said that he didn't want to come back. I mean, he did appear in the Hawaii movie. What was that called again?
Oh, the George Clooney one.
Yeah, the George Clooney one. I forgot the name of it now. I went to see it not knowing he was in it. It was like, oh my god, how awesome! But I think he lives on Hawaii now.
Right.
And so that kind of makes sense that he would just do a not too demanding part like that.
It's too bad he wasn't on Lost then.
Right? But
Yeah.
that might have been too demanding. I don't know.
I don't know.
Song 8 says, I'm basically a real life Harold Smith.
Yeah, but I like his other comment before where he says, I'm stuck in 1990 to 92 and I'm having big emotional problems now.
Yeah. Welcome to the club, man.
Charles Minano says, any thoughts on the Showtime teaser Phenomenon 3? I thought they got progressively better, even though I thought teaser 2 for the Phenomenon was better than 1, far better. 3 I think was under 2, but it still was better than 1. But I was kind of disappointed in them overall because they glossed over a whole lot of stuff and did a lot of revisionist history. But it says it showcased a parent noting his 9-year-old daughter is a huge Twin Peaks fan. In my opinion, no 9-year-old should be watching Twin Peaks. I mean, one of the things that I made a joke about yesterday was, people talk about cherry pie and coffee and damn fine coffee and all this stuff. And, one thing that Showtime is not doing, understandably, is reminding people that this show is ultimately about a man who raped and murdered his own daughter. And the teasers we see are certainly not Lucy going, cherry pie and coffee's coming up. Twin Peaks will be right back. Remember those like little tag things they used to do? And, we're not getting that stuff anymore. We're getting Cooper driving in a car looking at car headlights, like trailing him. And he's like all, this isn't Agent Cooper the way we've seen him before. So, it's definitely going to be interesting.
I think, again, I think the show is going to be able to explore some darker territory yet than it ever has been. I mean, so in that regard, it's probably going to be more along the line of Fire Walk with Me. But I don't think it's going to be, much darker than that per se.
Right. Someone wants to know what we think of Harry Goes, Andy Brennan in the trailer. He's definitely aged, but it's Andy and Hawk again.
Yeah, you know what? But this is like we're all the little Buddha now, right? Where we've never seen an old Twin Peaks person because we haven't seen them age in 25 years. So, like the Buddha, we've been living isolated from their aging. And then now we suddenly venture out of the palace and we're exposed to old people.
This
people
happened
that we know. And
this happened a few years ago, real quick, when you were watching the Never Sleep Again and Crystal Lake documentaries. You would text me and say, "Oh my God, these people have gotten old." And it's because you've been watching Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th for so long, you never thought of seeing them older.
Exactly. You don't think about that. And it's kind of stupid because intellectually, of course, but You haven't seen them age, and then suddenly you see them without that progression. I mean, there are actors that you think don't age, but it's really because you constantly see them. You see them on a regular basis. For example, Tom Cruise and Keanu Reeves. You know, they always get accused, oh, they're vampires because they don't age. But they do. You know, just look at Bill and Ted versus John Wick 2. You know, and then you're like, oh yeah, that fucker ain't no vampire after all. But by the way, I love the John Wick movies. But yeah, so you see that progression. Unfortunately, a lot of the people from the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, you don't see them in mainstream on a regular basis, and so you don't get that. And the same is true with a lot of the actors from Twin Peaks, except for a few. And for those few, the shock is less strong, you know. But with the ones you just mentioned, yeah, how many times have we really seen them? And then suddenly you see them now, and it's like, oh shit, yes.
Right.
But now, yeah. Oh, they age so much. Get a picture from yourself from the time when Twin Peaks first aired. Yeah. All right. Now see who's gotten old.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So I challenge everybody to fuck this Facebook then and now shit. Give me a picture of you, Twin Peaks yourself then and now. So find a picture from the early 90s and post it with a picture of, you know, now. And you're looking for pictures now, aren't you?
Well,
I think everybody aged perfectly. Yeah, I'm sure they did.
This is me making a funny face at age 14 reading a Twin Peaks book. I had hair back then. But yeah, that's the original book. So yeah.
Yeah, you still have hair. You just crop it so short.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I mean, I just can't believe it. I can't believe that I'm alive and this is actually happening. After so many years of hearing David Lynch say, Twin Peaks is as dead as a doornail.
Yeah, I never believed that.
Yeah.
And even if it was for him, it never was for me.
Right.
Right? Because it can continue to be such a big part of my life for all this time. But whatever. What was I going to say now? Oh, yeah. How old was I when I first saw Twin Peaks back in the day? Ironically, coincidentally, I was about the age that the characters were supposed to be, right? I was right in that high school age. So, yeah, I really identify with that strongly, even though the actors were at that time, you know, older. Right. Some of them quite a bit older, but they looked, you know, so much younger that they could still play those parts. But yeah.
But I am really looking forward to not only this new show, but I want to see, you know, all the characters and actors that, you know, were announced to come back, because I believe that we have not been told everyone that's coming back. I know there's going to be some surprises. One surprise that we will not have for sure, I'm positive, is we're not going to have David Bowie in this, even though he was still making music videos at the time that they were shooting this, you know, before he died. I think that if they had gotten David Bowie to be in this, they definitely would have said something about that out in the press. I don't think they're going to just all of a sudden Philip Jeffries shows up in this series.
The character could still show up, though, in some way, or at least there could be exposition about him, right? And sure. I kind of expect that. But oh boy, Wouldn't that be a surprise?
Oh yes, it would.
That, my friend, will make me cry like a little baby. If that were to happen, David Bowie would suddenly, they would somehow have kept this a secret.
He teleports
David
in.
Bowie would be there. Yeah. I'll be an 8-year-old crying. Or like an 8-year-old crying. I'd be wailing.
Yeah.
Seriously. That would be too much for me.
Did you read Mark Frost's book?
I have it.
Oh, you didn't read it?
No. Grandma Bowie digital add-on. Oh no digital add-ons. No.
He just compared him to Peter Cushing in Rogue One.
Oh yeah, no. Hold on one second. I can't hear you for one moment.
We're getting shorts and pants apparently. All right. I think they like your shorts.
Oh, they like my shorts?
Yeah.
Yeah. I like them. I'm going to show off my shorts. Whoa, just pulling out my headphone here.
Yeah, please don't fall over on live YouTube.
Yeah, I just shocked myself through.
Just so you know,
my headphones.
Badger writes, if David Bowie shows up in the series, it might be the greatest thing to ever happen in a TV series.
I'm telling you, I'd be crying. It would be so, wow. That would be almost like Jim Morrison showing up. In
the Doors. In the Oliver Stone movie.
Yeah, well, fuck the Oliver Stone movie. That's such a... Anyway.
But people are convinced that Onkin will show up. I wouldn't put it past it.
I wouldn't be surprised. Maybe David Lynch then said, fine, I'll fucking fly to Hawaii and have a crew with me.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's the great thing about digital technology. It's mobile.
Yeah. Well, film would have been possible too.
You know what I mean. I'm talking.
But I know what you mean. Yeah, about the shorts, I now don't live in the frozen tundra of the Midwest anymore, but I now live in one of the deserts of California. Mm-hmm. And so it's hot out here. And I didn't want to scare everybody away by not wearing anything. So there you go. Shorts it is. And
so what'd you get for us?
But I've got a nice little Cthulhu for everybody. Maybe he'll show up in the in the show.
Well, we're convinced that the Predator might show up in the new Twin Peaks because
okay.
They're owned by similar companies now. So, but go ahead.
This is the book that you're talking about?
Yes, this is book 1. Now, just so people know, the original press release that got sent out was saying that the book was going to chronicle the 25 years between the original series and the new series and what happened to the characters. Now, mm-hmm. That's not at all the book that got released.
Mm-hmm.
But book 2 is coming out in October, I believe. It's called The Final Dossier. And so my bet is that Final Dossier was what this book was supposed to be before it got changed. And my feeling is this, that Lynch was like, I don't want to tip our hand about these characters until after the fact. So can you do the history of Twin Peaks prior so that, we don't tip our hand? That's what I think happened.
Yes. I don't know what happened. I wasn't there. We can call David and say, yo, what's up? What's going on?
Well, you never know. That may happen eventually.
The Eye of God, Sacred Psychology in the Aboriginal Mind, Dr. Lawrence Jacoby.
Right.
Jacoby talks the talk, and he definitely walks the walk. So this book got a lot of negative attention from a lot of fans who bought it and then received it and then were, what the fuck All right, somebody made a comment I cannot ignore, and that is Major Briggs recast. Okay, so
No, they said
absolutely love Major Briggs. I also am, Donis Davis. I'm a huge Stargate SG-1 fan. It would be so difficult to see that character portrayed, by anybody else. But for some of these characters, if they're going to have to bring them back in some way and not do a fucking Peter Cushing digital bullshit thing, and don't get me wrong, what they try to do with that technically is all absolutely fantastic, but they went, so deep into the uncanny valley that I needed a bag for motion sickness. It was just that was not a fun experience for me. But anyway, let's forget about Star Wars for a second. Back to Twin Peaks. I would have a hard time with character replacements or
the only time Lynch did it obviously was Maura Kelly. But one actor that is not on the cast list for this new show, but I am convinced, you want to talk about over 65%, I'm at 90% this actor shows up in the new Twin Peaks, and that's Chris Mulkey. I am so convinced he's in this thing, even though he's not announced. The reason why is because when he goes to jail at the end of Twin Peaks, it's for a 25-year sentence, right?
Yeah,
he's at all the Twin Peaks festivals. He's been
Hank might be back, but again, whether the actor's going to be back or not. But again, that's like nobody but Mulkey could do that, right?
Right, but he's been carrying the Twin Peaks flag for years at all these Twin Peaks festivals. I'd find it hard to believe that they would just leave Hank out, especially since it's prime for him to get out of jail at the same time.
And he is super with fans, by the way. He is absolutely awesome with fans. By the way, all of the celebrities that I saw that were part of, Twin Peaks have been stellar in terms of interfacing with fans. And it's more like, even if there are awkward moments, it's more like a family reunion than it is like a Comic-Con type convention. Right? So let's say Chris Mulkey is probably involved some way, but Hank is dead.
Well, what you don't know about the book, since you didn't read it, is that a lot of the book is revised history, as if somebody went into the history of Twin Peaks and changed a lot of stuff. For instance...
Oh, so really it wasn't written by Mark Frost. It was written by Oliver Stone. That's what you're saying.
What I'm saying is that the reason why Nadine lost her eye is entirely different than what Hank says in the second season premiere. So a lot of the stuff that we know as canon is completely flipped around, and a lot of people believe that that is done on purpose to kind of maybe trick Bob or trick somebody from knowing the truth about stuff. So while it says Hank died, I don't believe that for one instance. He's an actor. He's a working actor too. He was in Captain Phillips a couple of years ago. Chris Mulkey is somebody that I would be shocked, absolutely shocked, if he's not in this.
Well, okay, so let me give you my 2 cents on this book then, in terms of history and accuracy. If you browse through the book, it comes pretty clear that, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is the impression that I got from it, is that it's a lot of it is a collection of articles, whether they're historical accounts or newspaper or magazine type articles, or even other kinds of publications. And guess what? If you've been awake in even the past 10 years, you realize that historians don't get shit right today about what happened 3 days ago. Right?
Mhm.
So maybe he's just playing with that.
Yeah, you never know. You never know. Um, Dallas wants to know: do you think Piper Laurie will show up as Mr. Tojimura? Uh, I assure you, as I said the other day, I assure you, if there's one thing that you can be sure of in this series, there will be no middle-aged white woman cultural appropriating an Asian man in this new series. The social justice warriors on the internet would destroy this thing if that even occurred. So no,
maybe,
it's not happening.
but also, hasn't she retired by now?
No, listen, I interviewed Piper Laurie.
Yeah, I know.
I asked her, "Do you want to be in season 3?" And she says, "Oh yes, I would come. I would come out of retirement to do it." So she
Okay.
wanted to do it, but she's not on the cast list. So maybe they think.
Yeah, but about this cast list, what I wanted to say, I know there are people listed on IMDb that will not be in the show. Hence, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a ton of people that will be in the show that are not on the list at all.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
So don't go to IMDb.
It's not about IMDb. It's not about IMDb. David Lynch and Showtime leaked 217 names as being on the cast.
Yeah, but that's not an exhaustive list.
That's what I'm saying. That's an introductory list.
Because, just from a marketing point of view, it'd be very smart to have these surprise announcements. Because if suddenly David Bowie does show up, I mean, just imagine for a second, right? You're watching and you're 15 minutes into episode 2, and there he is.
Mm-hmm.
You're just going to scream.
Time will stand still.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's going to be so hard for people that watch this in a group to not pull out their cell phone and tweet about it.
And they will.
And that is my main reason why I would not want to see it in a group setting. Even though I'm all about technology, I am constantly on my phone. People are bitching at me about it. But for something like that, the only internet connection that I'll have going is the Showtime app streaming it to, my Retina. But whatever.
Right. No, I understand. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see just how this whole thing comes together. And honestly, I'm just so happy that when James Marshall was shown in some of these pictures from Entertainment Weekly, I just want you to know, as somebody who is also a James Marshall, James Hurley fan, I didn't see, and I go on the internet a lot in different places. I didn't see one person bashing that James Hurley was back. Everybody was happy to see him in these pictures.
Yeah.
And that's a wonderful, wonderful thing after so many years of James hate on the internet.
And I was not one of those people.
No.
Throughout these years, I don't know, maybe because James is a Harley rider also.
Right.
I don't know, whatever. In fact, he probably started my love for Harleys, I don't know. It is good to hear, though, what you're saying, that people are not bitching that character's back, that people are happy about it. I'm happy about it. I was not expecting the look that they created for him.
Well, just
from what I saw on the cover of.
Well, just so you know, that is how his hair looked when they shot the pictures. That's not the way it looks in the series.
Oh, really?
Right.
Oh.
It's kind of like when they shot the promotional pictures for Pulp Fiction. You know, Samuel Jackson doesn't have the afro. You know,
So Cameron, who are your 3 favorite characters? Tracy Jackson wants to know.
in Twin Peaks.
Well, I
Well,
don't.
I mean,
I don't assume in
there
Snow
can't.
White.
No,
So
there's no. That's impossible. Every time you watch an episode, every time you see a scene, you got to think, this is my favorite character, and then another scene happens. I'll tell you my least favorite character. My least favorite character is 100% not Evelyn. It is. Can you guess who is my least favorite character in all of Twin Peaks?
I think you may have told me before, but I am not entirely.
There's only one correct answer.
Okay, well, what is it?
Lana Milford.
Oh, okay, yeah, no, yes, and her entourage.
The fact that a elderly man can walk into a sheriff's station with a loaded shotgun, and Cooper, who's an FBI man, and the local sheriff's department both think it's a great idea for this elderly man with a loaded shotgun to go into a room alone with a perceived witch while we go to a commercial break is lunacy.
Yeah. That's funny. It is interesting. I have always mostly identified with Albert as a character. Right? And yet recently somebody told me I remind them more of Bobby. I was like, I don't see that. You know, it's like, oh no, when you take those pictures and you post them on Facebook, it's like this totally a Bobby thing, you know, the way you do those. I'm like, okay, whatever. I don't know.
But who do I think are the who do I think are the most important characters? At least what I think of the I don't know about any of the new characters, but in terms of the old characters, which ones do I think will be very important in this new series? I'm thinking I've always maintained that I think it's going to be Hawk and Ronette Pulaski, and if they were alive, I think it would have been the Log Lady and Major Briggs. I think the 4 of them are the keys to getting Cooper out of the lodge.
Well,
it's certainly not going
to be Briggs and a Log Lady, obviously, because of the tattoo.
Right. Hawk knew about the White Lodge and Black Lodge and going against your shadow self. Ronette, because she's been there.
Here's the cool thing about Twin Peaks. None of the characters that died would necessarily, therefore, be excluded from having a part in the series. And that's because of the Black Lodge and the White Lodge. Even the ones that have passed away do not necessarily have to appear to still communicate or appear. I mean, after all, we've, in the first 2 seasons, have had communications, you know, through weird means. The owls are not what they seem.
The log itself.
Cooper.
Mm-hmm.
So that's awesome, and that is what gives us a lot of possibilities. And even though actors or characters may have passed away, Lynch will still be able to deal with those mysteries and address them.
But one thing we won't get is that amazing shot or sequence of shots in episode 14 when the Log Lady appears in the sheriff's station and Cooper walks up to her and says, "Something is happening, isn't it, Margaret?" And she goes, "Yes." And then it cuts to the full moon and that wind. And I mean, I'm really going to miss the Log Lady with those kind of moments.
Just, you know, even her not saying anything, like when they had the missing pieces, they had that one clip of the Log Lady just sort of like having this face of emotional distress that was just so intense. Yeah, sad.
All right, Dirk. Well, we're gonna wrap this up. So let me just. I'm gonna let you.
Let's see if we have any questions that from people that are watching this that we haven't answered yet, or if they want to ask us something real quick now.
Well, they're all talking about Ronette and Andy, and Leonard says it's going to be weird if people are on cell phones.
It is. Yeah, it is.
Tracy Jackson says he hopes that it starts out with Hawk hunting for 10 minutes. With
you know what I hope is that the influence of the lodges in Twin Peaks are so strong that cell phones just won't work there. Nobody can understand why, and nobody can make them work.
Right. Well, it'll be interesting to see, how they're going to deal with the lodges, because we don't have Bob anymore. They're obviously Michael J. Anderson doesn't seem like he's going to be in this new series, so it'll be interesting to see how they deal with all that stuff. But we know. I don't know if Dirk wants to hear.
But those were not the only characters associated with the lodges, right? There are other.
But we are having a character return that was not in Fire Walk with Me. That is, in the words of Dirk, fantastic. And that is the Giant is back.
Awesome.
Yeah, and he was
awesome is my word, not fantastic. Awesome.
He is. He was sorely missed
on Heather Graham. Only if she comes in on roller skates.
No, Andy Blackburn. It has to be in this somehow.
I hope so. And I'm just kidding about the roller skates, of course, but that would be awkward.
No, I have maintained from the beginning that she almost has to be in this.
But no, AA McCreary is asking odds on Heather Graham.
I'm going to say 75%.
I hope so. I really hope so. Again, I've not looked at this list, which sounds almost like a manifesto.
I agree, because Lara Flynn Boyle, Maura Kelly are not on the cast list. Everybody's been speculating for a long time that Ashley Judd will be playing Donna Hayward, and I would be okay with a third casting because that would kind of make sense. But who knows who anybody's playing? But I think Ashley Judd would be great as Donna Hayward. I think her and James Marshall would be incredible looking together. So, yeah. But Dirk, I want to close this out by saying again, 6 days, and each day that goes by, I feel like I'm going to become more and more of a wreck as we get closer to this. Where are you right now, Monday night, and where do you think you'll be Thursday, Friday night? I mean, you think you'll be convulsing by Saturday night, or what's going on?
Something like that.
I gotta say this to you, because I'm sure you guys have already heard this by now, but somebody tweeted to Mark Frost saying that he's planning on just sleeping the next several days until the new series comes out. And Mark Frost said you don't want to be sleeping because you're going to miss some great promotional stuff happening this week. So I don't know. Do whatever you can.
They're going to release more, and I just hope it's going to be along the line of what we saw today.
Yeah, they're not going
to because that I'll find acceptable. But in terms of where I'll be, let me tell you. Originally, I was going to be on a trip now, and Sunday I was going to be in a place without internet, other than maybe if I could pick up a cell phone signal. And even though I'm sort of sad that this trip has been postponed, I am really sort of happy that I will not have to go through the frustration of, maybe getting a few seconds of Twin Peaks and then it bailing out on me, and then another couple seconds, because that could have been so dangerous for the people around me.
I know you would have taken a pipe and beaten someone over the head.
Well, I would have channeled Albert stronger than ever before.
Yeah. Well, every day goes by. I'm just another day of, oh my God, where this is actually happening. I remember there was a girl, Helena, that I'd have on this podcast a while ago, and she used to say to me, I don't believe this is happening until it actually starts right in front of me. Then I'll believe this is happening.
That's what I've been saying, and in fact, I just came across one of those stupid Facebook memories thing again earlier today, or no, it was yesterday, where I actually said, like, I'm done with all this fucking Twin Peaks speculation. I'll believe it, and I'll get hyped and excited about it once it's on my fucking TV. And here we are, man.
Yeah.
6 days away.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, wow. This
we
shit is happening.
We live in wondrous times.
What a trip. Yeah, we do.
It's amazing. So anyway, guys, I just want to say thank you again for tuning in. All this week, I'm going to be uploading videos, sort of like a Twin Peaks countdown until this new series. Really appreciate you guys tuning in and supporting this channel. And be sure to, like these videos and subscribe and share them with people. And let's get everyone on this Twin Peaks train together and let's have some fun. 6 days away. In a few hours, we'll be 5 days away. The clock is ticking. This is happening. This is incredible. I just want to thank you, Dirk, so much for joining me. It's a pleasure having you back on here.
You're welcome. Thank you.
It's wonderful talking Twin Peaks with you without even. I have to be careful with Dirk because he doesn't want to talk any potential spoilers. So it's kind of fun having sort of a generic Twin Peaks conversation with you, but going into some details of things that are not plot or character driven or things that will spoil anything in those natures. So anyway, thank you guys again. Really appreciate it. And we will see you next time, which will be tomorrow. So take it easy.
Bye.
Bye.